Welcome to another recording in the collection on post-growth planning. In this audio and video recording, we can listen to Luciana Maia from Erfurt in Germany. She talks about beyond growth, leveraging donut economics for well-being and sustainable development in cities. The talk has been recorded within the course Critical Approaches to Global Sustainability Challenges at the University of Groningen in the Netherlands on 27th February 2025. My name is Christian Lamker, Assistant Professor at the University of Groningen, and I am teaching the course together with my colleague Ethemcan Turhan to students of the Master Program Society, Sustainability and Planning and other master programs at the faculty and university. Okay, then I would say a very warm welcome to Luciana. You see her on the screen. So we are very happy to have you here with us. I think you are in Erfurt right now. I will now mute ourselves here in the room. So then the floor is yours.
I am Luciana Maia. I was born and raised in Brazil, and I have been living in Germany now for almost 24 years. I came to study here and to work on the area of nature and chemistry and material science, but I find myself now in the topic of infrastructure and environment, and have been working in the International Development Cooperation now for almost 18 years. Topics that I work with are very much related to cities, to climate change, to urban planning, localizing global agendas, and issues of governance and participation. I came to the topic of growth, beyond growth, through a municipal network on spaces beyond growth, municipal degrowth network, which also Christian is part of. That's also one touch point where we met, and I'm trying also to build these different bridges between practice, theory, between also research and application, and also activism. So I'm also working in a political level. Local politics is not easy. I think that this is very first thing that I want to mention. What guides my thinking is that I've been working in the realm of international development cooperation, and many agreements that have been met at this global level already 10 years ago are very much relevant in the advisory service that it is provided there, and also quite relevant. But what we try to do is in the end to see what does that mean for the local level. There is this saying that whatever can be solved at the local level should be solved at the local level. Nonetheless, there are many things that need these global agreements as well, and we can be critical to that. I'm trying to bring a lot of criticism here for your further thoughts as well. They are not perfect, but what we have so far, and there are many more. So these are the ones that I have been looking at with more detail, especially the new urban agenda, as something that could guide the integrated local implementation of all the other global agreements. This to say that in the end, 10 years ago, the planetary boundaries, this is a concept that is around already since 2009, and I think you have heard about it. But this is the sustainability, also to say the ecological crisis that we are facing. And what I found kind of impressive is that if you look at the boundaries that have been transpassed since 2015, and what we did all these agreements, and we tried to bring all these concepts into actions at the global level and try to avoid all these things, but nothing is happening, right? So in the end, we have now 9 or 6 out of 9 planetary boundaries that have been transpassed, and at the same time, and this is the other aspects of what you have called the human needs crisis. I was putting this also at the justice aspect. We are trespassing all these boundaries, and we still have so much injustice in the world. If you see the graphic with in the left side, around 30% of world population currently live in slums. And we have the poorest 50% of the world population being responsible for only 10% of the total of the carbon emissions. So these two crises, they go hand in hand, and this is what guides my thinking and worries me every day, that we are not really managing to solve them. The SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, is one of the topics that I have most worked with many cities with, and it said that mostly like 2/3, 65% of the SDGs that are something that are agreed at the global level, but it said that they can only be achieved with and in cities. If you look at what happened 2 years ago, there was the midpoint of the SDGs. We are halfway there, but nowhere near. Nothing, 15% only is on track. So the same picture as before, we are not really achieving the goals that we have set at a global level. And for cities, this polycrisis means quite a daunting, challenging way of living from crisis after crisis, and in the end, you cannot wait that one crisis is finishing and the other is already there, and we are not seeing the many of the climate or biodiversity crisis. I mean, this was not the topic, for example, in German elections recently. So this is not being really dealt as it should be. And what I have in mind is always this person at the municipal level. I work a lot with people in local administrations where we try to build their capacity and give them tools and formats to improve also their work. And this is like this guy, he's overwhelmed. There are many agendas that exist. There are many new concepts such as sufficiency, good life for all, beyond growth that we are talking about. And there is a lot of citizens that are also asking for schools, for housing, for streets, for mobility. And this is quite overwhelming. And this is the person that I always have in mind when I'm thinking in all the different hats that I carry. So this is just to give you a bit of the snapshot of where I come from and why I think the donut is, for example, one important concept as alternative for the way cities have been working so far. The idea is that the donut is as a concept, as it has been created by Kate Raworth already quite long ago, and she actually tried to bring this concept to the UN when they were discussing about the Sustainable Development Goals. Is that it is a compass for humanity for us to achieve the needs of all people within the means of the living planet. So again, bringing this perspective that we are transpassing as Earth, the planetary boundaries, and at the same time, we are not giving the good life for many people. And we should not aim to leave no one behind, leave no one falling short on the social foundation, and still not transpass the planetary boundaries. So this concept for me, it's quite nice because it brings all these two perspectives together and put this corridor as a goal. The corridor is the safe and just space for humanity within the donut. And I'll show in the next picture what does that mean for different countries. What I like about the donut also is, and we can be critical to that as well, but it's not saying if growth is good or not, but it's saying that we should aim for thriving. So either we will need growth or not for that, and that will be different also for different countries. I have to see how can I get any kind of feedback if everything is fine. We can hear you well. Okay. So if there is anything, you have to give me some sign because I'm not listening. I don't have any feedback from the sound. But this is one example of how the donut can be used. It is a portrait based on indicators, on facts, on hard data that can be collected for countries. It's the work that the Leeds University has been doing. And the first portrait the United Kingdom shows, for example, and within these indicators that are seen here, you can see material footprint, for example, ecological footprint. The red is saying, okay, this is transpassing, right? So this is the overshoot of the ecological ceiling. At the same time, the local foundation, there are many indicators, I'll not go into detail, but it's just that the shorter the smaller the figure here, the more it is achieving. So to say, okay, it's a country that is well developed, that has a very wealthy society and economy in general, and it's transpassing the planetary boundaries, but it's doing that in order to provide for the basic social foundation. And you compare that to Sri Lanka, the ecological ceiling is much lower, because it's a country that's, of course, not that industrialized and has not much emissions and so forth. But at the same time, there is still in many areas for the social foundation a lack. There's people lagging behind, and not enough people are receiving the social within the social ecological social foundation. What can we do with that? Why is that important? This graphic, the next graphic for me, is so important at so many layers, and I brought that to you to show that we will need to do different transformation paths for different countries. So having said that, this graphic shows that countries, for example, from the global north, the industrialized Western societies, they have quite a high intensity in the means of the living planet, the ecological overshoot that they show, but at the same time, they do offer quite good needs they meet the needs of the people, right? And on the other hand, we have a lot of countries from the global south that are not at all overshooting the ecological foundation, but they are also not meeting the needs of all people. What does that mean? We need something that has never happened before, which is we need to reduce the ecological overshoot without the social compromise of the countries of, let's say, now in general, the global north, and we still need to make space for the countries that are in the lower part to rise, and those in the middle need to reorient. What does that mean? I mean, this is quite a huge question, and we can discuss that, but we need to have clarity about this at many layers and many levels, and that's something can be discussed at the UN level. If the UN were the institution where these things could also be addressed, we know that it's not, but we can still try to sensitize people. Now I have to look at the time, because I want to also talk a lot still about why is that important for cities. The donut has been used now by over 50 cities worldwide. It has gained a lot of momentum, and it's a very interesting way to look at the ecological foundation, the ecological aspects of a transformation of a city, and at the same time the social aspects. And what is really nice about it, and I think that is what also other models do not do, to look at the local aspirations and at the same time at the global responsibilities. This is the four-lens approach. I think I will skip to go into the questions, but this is how the cities first look at this approach for their own work, and trying to find the entry points also for transformation and for change. So local and global, ecological and social, and that it's just a different way of analyzing the different aspects of transformation. This is also quite briefly to say that cities are using the donut in very different ways. They can use it to just start conversation until really using the approach for decision making. And there are a lot of examples. I can only recommend you to get a look at the Donut Economic Action Lab deal website and have a look if you want to learn more. But bottom line is that the approach is very holistic, and it brings together all these different interests and players, and that has been one of the, I think, success factors for its use. And that it helps to bring this new way of thinking and reimagining what a city should aim for. So, exactly. And on the other hand, the donut economics is not the only approach. I think that we should always be conscious that there are many more out there, and the degrowth or post-growth is also one approach, but the bottom line is that all these concepts they have not been developed primarily for the municipal level. So they have very normative approaches, they have sometimes very global aspects, but we still need to see how to make this something that is applicable at the local level and translate that to the local level. And I want to compare here, just to let you know that this has been a very, I think, successful publication by DIFO, which is the German Institute for Urban Affairs, and the PD, which is some consulting firm looking at the public service, public sector in Germany, and they have looked with very much detail into the different concepts that exist, such as the Agenda 2030, but also the climate neutrality, circular economy, and compared it. And I think that I'll not go into detail, but just to show that there are many different layers of how you can analyze how these concepts work for city. This is what they did. They looked at communicability, political legitimacy, and so forth, and they have analyzed and put that as a kind of assessment for the different approaches. And it would be nice to discuss this in more detail, but I think we won't have the time for this today, but you can have a look on it. And the idea is actually to see political legitimacy is very important. And for example, for the Agenda 2030, it's very high. But for example, for the donut, it's not seen as very high. So there is still this interesting disbalance, or how this is still not what is explaining why the approaches are somehow not how they are being taken forward, and what could be done to improve that. And for example, for post-growth, they're very it's very hard because it's quite high level of abstraction, quite high level of complexity, and also not much tested, or not much easy to communicate or to legitimate in a political sense. So there is still work to be done there to see how they can be more sellable also to cities. And just to say, okay, the cities still, like, there is a great interest in using the donut. This graphic is already from 2023, but I think there are now more than 50 cities using it. And to me, this shows that, okay, this concept makes sense for the cities. They like it, and there is some kind of success behind it. And I think that is because the communication is quite well with the donut, and you can use the donut also for not only having your vision, but also to looking at your indicators. How do you measure what you're doing? How you were achieving what you aim to achieve, and also as for doing an action plan. So this is what this next graphic is showing. These are different visuals that have been generated from different cities or initiatives, and it shows this playfulness also with the colors and the communication aspect. But it's showing also that you can use this for different with different goals. So for going from measures to indicators to visions to action plan. Yeah. What does that mean? For me, it was, I was working with cities with the SDGs, with the Sustainable Development Goals, and then I saw, actually it makes a lot of sense to look also at different approaches. And since I found the donut quite convincing, I saw there was a lot of movement from the cities, so from bottom up, from the ground. Of course, especially in the global north, that's also a criticism, because this is cities that have, of course, also more responsibility. But I found very interesting, my curiosity was to see, okay, how are the international and networks, international organizations dealing with this concept? And what I did was just a very brief research on a few most important or known to me organizations in this area, from UN Habitat, World Bank, several networks such as ICLE, C40. I looked in each of the web pages, so the information that is publicly available within the website, and tried to find if they were dealing in any way with the donut or with degrowth, post-growth aspects. So this is like the people also I know I work with, and I also have been trying to be advocating and convincing since then. And what I figured out was that very few were working on it. C40 has started already quite long ago, because they were Amsterdam is part of C40, and Amsterdam was the first city that really used and developed the methodology for the 4 lenses. And then UCLG, which is also a global network, then also brought some games with the donut in one of their capacity development approaches, and Cities Alliance also just started talking about it. And this is what you can see here. I'll skip it very briefly. You can have that in the slides. Then before, this is where you can find this information. But there was now recently released by UNDP Urban Development Beyond Growth. So a lot of talking already, things that are coming into kind of publications. But the bottom line for me was that it's not yet there. So these organizations, and also development cooperation in Germany, which is my main focus also of organizations which I work with, are not really taking. They are acknowledging somehow this concepts exist, but they are not part of any operative project development so far. The area of sustainable urban development has one interesting graphic where I see a hidden donut, but it's about integrated urban planning. So they are working very much more still with the same like normative or the same approaches. And there are some starting points. For example, last year there was from IDOS, which is a think tank also advising BMZ, Development Beyond Growth conference, where the discussion started, but nothing is already trickling down to any kind of project implementation. And that brings me to my last 2 slides, just to be very quick, that we are still in some phase where there is some research agenda being found for this topic. The London School of Economics were already looking at prosperity beyond growth as a topic also for European cities. There have been many conferences also, and at the EU level and so forth, but it's still a lot of talking. There is not really much being melting or coming into policy formulation, not even at local level and also not at the national level. So it's still in the discourse level, many people talking about it, a lot of ideas, but it's far away from becoming something that can be tested. Now talking more about beyond growth, and that's why I see, and coming to the conclusion, that we can still do more, and we can still use the donut economics much more, targeting this development of international cooperation, the beyond growth community, the urban community, and bring these things a bit more in an integrated manner together, because we need to still continue advocating for the importance of cities and regions, and that comes from planning to all the processes that of course happen at the local level, and development cooperation, international cooperation. They do have a lot of interesting programs and projects that support cities and support also this work of the importance of cities, but they are still not questioning the growth. So the growth paradigm is still very much embedded in the way these projects work. And my question is, can we question that? Can we be critical to that? Can these organizations also change their mindset? And that's what I'm trying also to convince them to do. And one last thought is that actually we should invert. We have been very much, and there's a criticism also to development cooperation and all this work. We think that we need to teach the Global South something, and we need to bring them something and help them to develop. But I very much argue that perhaps it's the other way around. In the beyond growth, in the post growth way of looking at the world and looking for solidarity and looking for living with less. I think we can learn much more. The cities in the global north can learn much more from the cities and communities from the global south, and there should be much more focus also in strengthening this kind of learning and exchange, and fostering different kinds of partnerships and networks there as well. Okay, now I think I'm 5 minutes past. If I had only 20 minutes, perhaps there's still time for some questions or some discussion. Christian, back to you.
Many thanks for your presentation. Then we certainly have a very loud applause.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lucy, for joining us today, for sharing your insights, for also taking us into the challenges to localize the global agenda, but also then to work through the differences between the different cities, the different countries, and some of the realities between some remaining problems, issues, but also some signs of hope that it is possible in some way, that there are some seeds forward. So with that said, many regards to Weimar. You're from Groningen. We wish you a nice late afternoon, evening, and we wish you much success for also your coming working steps and convincing efforts.
Great, thanks so much for having me. Thanks for the really interesting questions, and if there is need, I'm always available. You can always reach out, and if there is anything that I can further answer and discuss, and I'm happy to be in touch. And also, good evening, good afternoon for you, good rest of February.
And thanks also to all of you. I think that's it for today.